what we really have to focus on is that if this is something that I'm uncomfortable doing from the beginning, you're not going to just become comfortable in 10 years. You might be better at doing the job. You might be better at hiding it. You might be better at staying silent, but that does not mean that it's not causing you harm. With him, I know I can stand no matter what. What is going on, YouTube family? It's your girl Faith, and I'm back with another YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, we talk about everything when it comes to self-development, our mental health, our physical health, and the ways that we want to improve. And I was almost there. Sorry, y'all, if you hear stuff in the background. I am meal prepping for this week. But if this is something that interests you when it comes to like just self-improvement, the way we eat, the way we show up, and we want to be our higher self, then this channel is for you. I want to kind of jump into this because this inspired me. Like, I know whenever I'm in the process of trying to move on, I'm always trying to like, when is the right time? And I feel as humans, I feel as people, we just have like an instinct. It's like in us, you know? And I was just like, you know what, let me highlight this because I know I'm not the only one. I know we all share the same experience when it comes to like moving on and just transitioning in our lives. So let me talk about the first one. Like I said before, you just feel it. You just know when it is time for you to move on. You just feel it. And it's something that it almost kind of happens suddenly, but it's really not. It's kind of like a buildup until finally you're like, you know what? I got to figure out something. I got to figure out another solution. I got to figure out another space in my life. And I feel like those are the moments when you just know. Like, it could be even just people and things no longer interest you. And it's not saying that those people or those environments are completely negative. It doesn't even have to be that. It could be a space where that no one is really like troubling you or bothering you. You just know like, I've either outgrown this or this is just no longer fitting to the version of the person that I want to be. So most times we usually feel it. It's like in us, you know, it's just a feeling that we have and we can't really explain it, but we know that, okay, this is the time that I might have to do something about this feeling. Now, this segues into my next reasoning. So you're no longer living to survive. So I talk a lot about surviving. If you haven't, go ahead, hit the link to my bio. I have videos where I talk about the mindset of surviving versus thriving. And in the process of surviving, it's like you no longer want to do kind of like the bare minimum. And I'm not saying taking care of yourself is not a great deal of responsibility. It is. But when you're surviving, you're mostly making sure your needs are met. Okay, I have food on the table. I have a roof over my head. I'm in the process of just having a car or a home, like those things. And those things are important, but then you kind of say to yourself, you know what? I don't want to just do the bare minimum. Like, I've done it for a really long time, but now I kind of want to see myself, I kind of want to see myself grow. I want to see my higher version of myself because these four walls aren't just it, you know, it doesn't stop here now that you've got all the essentials that you need to survive. So surviving is no longer your comfortability. Like, you're in the process, and surviving can be in a lot of things. You can be surviving just in a relationship where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable, but we've gotten complacent. We're very content because I know this person for so many years and they know me for so many years. And that's a whole nother subject on a whole nother day. Again, I'm never here to judge boo, because trust me, I am here living this life experience with y'all. And even when it comes down to just even the workspace, it's like, okay, now I've reached the tax bracket that I make the most money. However, this is just not where I see myself growing or moving into. I want to see myself transition to a new career. I want to see myself working in a new work environment. There's so many examples, but surviving is one of those things that you just can no longer do, and you have to move on and move from and move to the next destination in your life. So as we talk about surviving, we also have a level of curiosity. Most of us are curious. Most of us are wondering, like, it's kind of like a bucket list. Like, what haven't I not done? Where would I like to go? Where would I like to travel? How do I really want to live? And I feel like those curiosities are always kind of going through our minds. And it usually starts at a very like young age. Most of us have some of the greatest ideas and imaginations in our younger days, and I feel like those were our like most bravest moments, if that makes sense. Like when you were young, you were kind of like fearless. You were like, yeah, I want to do this and this. And then as you get older, you have a lot more life experience, and other things start to kind of sway you off of that imagination, right? You're like, I have to get into reality. Reality is I need to pay my bills. The reality is I need to take care of these kids. The reality is I need to be a wife, a husband. And the reality is that I need to just show up and just do my job. And that's no longer good enough because your curiosity is still in the back of your mind. When you're sitting there at the playground with your kids, the curiosity of like, I wonder how it would be if I lived in another country. I wonder how it would be if I had a business that I wanted to start. I wonder how it would be if I could spend more time with my kids to do the things that I love. Like your curiosity is still in the back of your subconscious mind because you still want that. And I always say this in every video, and y'all know, and y'all can quote me. God would not give you vision if he didn't want you to have it. It's just the honest to God truth. And in that, going into that, ooh, now this one, y'all, is so personal for me because I know, and you guys know a piece of my journey. But one thing about moving on, moving from, and moving to, when you don't move on and you don't move from that situation, you actually start to do more harm than good. So something that used to be easy for you to do stops being easy. It starts to become a challenge. It starts to affect your body. It starts to affect your mind. You start to feel almost delusional, like you're not in the real world, like you're almost in some type of matrix environment. Every day starts to look the same. And that's why sometimes when we're doing things for a really long time, at the beginning, initially, when we start something, we always have the energy to do it. Even if we dislike it, we're really good at doing things that we dislike as humans. And I'm saying this for myself. And I remember being in a space where I personally was like, okay, I could do this every day. I could do this every day because a paycheck was coming. A paycheck was coming. A paycheck was coming. Until eventually it started slowing down. It's like, okay, why is this one particular thing really troubling me? Like, how comes when I go into this environment, I'm not showing up as my best version? How comes when I go into this environment, I'm getting sick? How comes in this environment, I'm having mental breakdowns than walking through the door? It's because it's no longer easy. It's actually getting harder. And that's the delusion that we kind of feed ourselves. We feed ourselves that, okay, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. But what happens is we can do a lot of things that are uncomfortable. Most of us do a lot of things that are uncomfortable. However, if we don't have a purpose while we're doing it, and a greater purpose than saying, oh, okay, I'm doing this for my kids, because your kids are not asking you to work at your job. I'm sorry. They're not. The kids are so innocent. Kids do not ask you to, Mom, I want you to work at a job that doesn't make you happy. No, your kids don't. What it really is, and I really pinpoint that a lot because I'll hear a lot of moms say, like, I have to do this for my kids. And it's like, moms, you don't have to do that for your baby. Your baby is at home. All your baby wants to do is spend time with you and just, be in your presence and appreciate those moments. But we will stay in spaces that are so harmful, and it may not show up. It's kind of like a silent, sneaky type of situation where it's like it doesn't show up immediately, it doesn't show up on the surface of our skins, but it starts to really impact our mind. And once the mind is impacted, the body follows. And sometimes it's the opposite way too. But I'm saying what we really have to focus on is that if this is something that I'm uncomfortable doing from the beginning, you're not going to just become comfortable in 10 years. You might be better at doing the job. You might be better at hiding it. You might be better at staying silent. But that does not mean that it's not causing you harm. Oh, so you guys, when I moved to Atlanta, I felt like this was something that I had no question and no doubts. And that's how you know when it's time to move on, move from, and move to, because you no longer need validation. You don't need validation from anyone. I mean, whatever you're considering doing is almost kind of like me and God knows what I'm doing, and I don't need no one else's opinion. Now, people want to share their opinion by all means, but you don't have to sit for it. Trust me, because most of us have to realize our goals are for ourselves. Our friends, our family, they can be in support, but they cannot see our vision. They cannot see the things that we want. They don't see the sacrifices that we're going to make to do the things that we want. So we don't need validation when it's time to move on, move from, and move to, because we have a destination. We can see foresight. We can see ahead of time, like, God, I want to do that thing. And God is like, I'm going to remind you, I'm going to hold you to that. And those are when a lot of those obstacles will come. Those are a lot of times when when things start to trigger you and push you back. And I said this in one of my last videos, that sometimes we look at adversity as a way, this is a reason to stop. No, adversity is a way to strengthen us. Adversity is a way to show us that this is what I really want. Because every time something sets me back, I'm going to push forward. Every time something says, hey, someone says something negative, you use that as fuel. And that's exactly when you know it's time to move on, move from, and move to, because you no longer need anyone's validation. Your validation is from God, and you're going to seek God for it. And if anybody want to be in support, fine. And if anybody doesn't want to be in support, you wish them the best of luck on their journey, and you move on to your journey. This is something that I'm learning, and again, this is a learning process. I'm on this journey to learn right with you. When you are willing to surrender and make sacrifices for the things that you want. You guys, I heard this a long time ago from a friend, and she used to tell me, Faith, when you start to focus on a goal, you're gonna have to make sacrifices. And I remember thinking to myself, girl, I ain't trying to make no sacrifices. I want it all. I want the house, the car, and I want to be able to achieve my goals. And it was so funny because when I was in the hospital, and if y'all didn't know, I recently was in the hospital, and that's a whole nother story. If you guys want me to talk about that, I can talk about that. But I was watching TV, and Shannon Sharp was on the TV, and he was at an HBCU school, and he said it perfectly. He said, whenever you have a goal, make sure on the left, whenever you have a goal, make 2 columns. One is for your goals, and the next is everything that you're willing to sacrifice to make that goal, because you will make sacrifices. And I said to myself, oh my God, that is the truth. And I made small sacrifices as of right now, but sacrifices go on and on and on. Sacrifices change. Some sacrifices become greater and greater and greater. And the things that the goals and the places and the settings that we want to be in are going to cause us sacrifices. And however that looks to you, you may see it coming, you may not see it coming. It might be people around you. It might be in the time that you have. It might be in the finances that you have. It might be in the physical state that you're in, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices. And it's not going to be something that you make. It's going to be something that comes just from the things that you want to do, because you know this is important to you. You know that you can't leave this earth unless you at least are working on this goal. Maybe you don't reach that goal, but you would be damned if you die and you didn't try, because that would harm you. So a lot of times we are making sacrifices. That means spending time with our friends and our family. That might look like, sometimes even our physical health, because we're going so hard for this goal. But that's what it looks like when you're trying to achieve something. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to move on, move from, and move to do greater things. And those greater things will come with sacrifices. So as I wrap up this video, I wanted to touch on a few things, y'all. And something I had wrote down was that moving on doesn't guarantee complete satisfaction and peace. Moving on simply means that you now have created more opportunities for room to grow. So now that you are moving on, moving from, and moving to your next destination in life, I want you to keep that in mind. I'm keeping that in mind as well. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy doing anything, because there's a lot of obstacles, and there are people who did this before you. And honestly, there's a system. Honestly, really, there's a system. But we have to really tune into ourselves. We have to find communities that are like-minded. We have to be in spaces that are like-minded. We have to work on things, and we have to just keep God in our forefront, and we have to look at God and just seek him through a lot of our times. I know it sounds easier said than done. Trust me, I'm working on my next destination because I want to elevate, and I'm so proud of myself because I know when I make these YouTube videos, I know when I'm journaling, I know when I'm having moments of exercising and being with my body and eating the proper food, I realize like, God, you want something greater for me. And I just have to remind myself, I'm like, it's worth it. You know, it may not show up today. It may not even show up, you know, when I wanted to, but it's going to show up when it's time. So I hope this brings light and love to you as you're on your journey of elevating yourself. Please feel free to like, subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you guys think, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again.